All right, you guys, it is Wednesday today. We are gonna make our new message. We are still gonna be talking about story elements. So, dear students, this week I am going to define for you our story elements so that you can practice going over those definitions. With my class, we had a little quiz on these definitions, so we are going to go over them here. I'm going to define them for you, and then that way you can practice them at home and continue to talk about them in your stories. So, dear students, let's define story elements. So, dear students, let's define story elements. Let's get started. I'm gonna try to write a little bit smaller so that I can fit it onto our paper. So we have characters, characters are who the story is about. So your characters is your who in the story, who your story is about. Your settings are your where and when the story takes place. Okay. The next one we have is events. Our event is what happens in the story. Includes the problem, and the solution. And the last one is, we didn't talk about it the other day, and I'm going to introduce it to you today. It's called the narrator. Narrator is going to be who tells the story. Sometimes it can be someone in the story. Other times it might be an outside person. It might be the person who wrote it, who is telling you, who is the narrator. So this one is, oh, wrong marker. That's about to write not very pretty on there. So your narrator is who is telling the story. Usually, that's a big word, usually a character or the author. Remember, we talked about who the author is. The author is who writes the story. When we talked about that last week, I think. Usually a character or the author him or herself. So we have boys or girls write stories. Miss Burrell. Okay, so today's message, we've gone over story elements and we defined, got the definition for, learned what it means for the story elements. So we have, dear students, let's define story elements. You have characters, that's the who the story is about. We have settings, where and when the story takes place. We have events, what happens in the story. This includes the problem and the solution. Then you have a narrator. That is who is telling the story. Usually a character or the author, him or herself. Love, Miss Burrell. So what I want you today is I want you to study these. I want you to learn what they are, and that way that's really going to help you in those read alouds and the stories that you read at home, figuring out who the characters, the settings, the events, and the narrator all are and what part they play in each story. Have a good day.